Welcome back to Social Impact Live. I'm your host, Darrell Coleman, and today we are continuing our series on the 5 mistakes that social entrepreneurs or enterprises make that reduce their impact. Super excited to be here talking to you about this. Just to recap real quick where we've come from and where we're going. We started this off focused on the mistake number 1, which were that there was a lack of insight that social entrepreneurs have when it comes to understanding the people that they're trying to serve. And I told you ways of going to address that in video 1 this week. The second was the lack of consistent process for maintaining that insight, for forming a sort of community around that. And I talked about the best ways to go about doing that as well in mistake number 2, the video about mistake number 2. Today we're talking about number 3, which is a lack of clarity about the end state that they want to achieve. So this is the third big mistake that I often see when it comes to creating an impact, and it really has to do with how social enterprises and social entrepreneurs define the problem that they are seeking to address, and something that I want to make very clear for you today so that you don't make that mistake as well. So what is an instate? An instate, fundamentally, is a statement about the hypothetical reality, the hypothetical future that you are seeking to create. It is a statement about the world that you want to live in, and it is in stark contrast, generally speaking, to the world that you currently live in. And what I mean by that is, it is a statement about where things could be if they were improved versus a statement about how things are right now. So I'll give you an example of what this looks like. We did some work, my company in Santa Clara County, working to help them develop their 3-year strategy for reducing jail recidivism. So how do you prevent people? How do you create systems that reduce the likelihood people are going to come back to jail in the first place? In many ways, we have to understand that first, the reason people are coming back to jail is because we have systems in place that make that so, right? There are laws people violate again. Some of those laws are created only for people who've been incarcerated. There are all sorts of rules we have in place that make it likely that people are going to come back to jail. So how do we create systems that reduce the likelihood that that's going to happen? And one of the challenges that we learned about during our time there was that transitioning from being in jail to finding a stable life, building a stable life outside of the jail is not an easy thing to do. And specifically, one of the big challenges is the pathway toward finding work and finding housing. Those things are super non-transparent for people. And one of the quotes that I heard that I think most characterized the challenges folks were facing in Santa Clara County is, if you can't afford housing, you go to jail. His comment, this is a comment from someone who was currently incarcerated whenever I had that conversation, was that if you are unable to find a stable place to sleep and to live that you can pay for, then you will eventually end up back in jail, whether that means that you're in a temporary housing unit or you are sleeping on the street. At some point you will get picked up and you will end up back incarcerated. So that comment painted a good picture of the current state. The current state is the current situation that we see, which is that people who are incarcerated, as they are preparing to leave jail, do not have a clear understanding of the path toward employment, nor where they will find housing, nor a way toward understanding how they will establish and maintain the stability that they are looking for in order to avoid recidivism and returning to jail afterward. Right? So when we think about the end state, right, because that's the current state, that's a description of the current problem, the end state would basically be the opposite of that, which is a statement about what we'd like the world to look like. In this example, it would be individuals who are about to re-enter society from jail have a clear understanding about how they will get a job, where they will get that job, and how that job will enable them to pay for and secure long-term housing that provides stability in their lives. If that were a true statement, right, that people are going to know what the path is, they're going to know how to find that job, they're going to be able to secure that such that they can find and secure stable housing. If those things were known for people who were leaving incarceration, it would be an entirely different situation than the one that we find ourselves in now. So that is the instate. All right, and that is a statement about where we are trying to go. Stated in the present tense because it makes it very clear to us then, when we say it in the present tense, that it is not a true statement. In fact, it's not a true statement in most places across the United States of America. And so we can start to understand what is broken both by looking at the end state and saying, well, that doesn't seem like reality, or by looking at the current state and saying, well, that is reality and that is the description of the problem itself. All right. So a lack of clarity on the end state, though, is something that I see a lot of social enterprises and social entrepreneurs forget to do or do poorly. There's not a clear vision about what we want this outcome to look like. And when I end up working with different teams, different organizations, this is a question I'm always asking. What is the outcome that you're hoping to get out of this? What would success look like in this small event, in this larger venture, in this pilot study, in whatever that might be? We need to define what success looks like ultimately, and I think using the end state framework is one of the best ways to do that. One of the other reasons it's really great is because it helps you gain consensus from other people, other stakeholders, other individuals who are involved in this process to make sure that they are also on the same page about what needs to happen. So that is what I have for you for lesson number 3, message number 3, mistake number 3 that social entrepreneurs and enterprises make in creating social change. If you would share this message with anyone who you think would find it useful, that would be really great. If there's someone who is out there who's seeking to create a social enterprise, or maybe who runs one already, and you think this would be a useful message for them, a useful framework for them, the current state, end state framework, please do share this message as well. I'm Darrell Coleman. I run a firm called DC Design also, and so if you're looking for expert guidance on that, you can always message us, call us in, and we might be able to work with you and your organization as well. All right, that's what I've got for you today. Simple framework, put it in terms of the present tense, follow the example that I sort of gave here, but imagine what does it look like ultimately for your end state to exist. And the last thing I'll say about that is, as you develop that end state, make sure that it's very deeply based in the insights gained from the people that you're actually serving. Make sure that it's very deeply based on the reality of the lives of those who are impacted by the problem that you're working to address. All right, thank you so much. I will see you next time on Social Impact Live.